Welcome to another White Rose Media recording. The Brett Cooper situation is continuing to create a lot of noise and excitement on YouTube. And Joe Rogan even has now recognized the situation and had an interesting commentary on it. He talks about it from the point of view of somebody being in the recording industry, and that's in a way how I was initially interested in this, because I am a music fan and I know the stories of how the recording industry really screwed over people. People like Pete Ham, who killed himself, Jimi Hendrix, who ended up dying of a drug overdose from a really intense touring schedule trying to meet his obligations to the people who owned his contracts, to Prince, who couldn't even use his own name for a while and had to use that weird symbol and go by the artist formerly known as Prince. And I'm just going to play a bit of Joe Rogan's take on how the recording industry works, and it's essentially the same in the industry that Brett Cooper is in.
You lose. That's like the record business version of arithmetic.
Yeah. You can't buy the elusive intangible.
Yeah, their record business is notoriously horrible with that. So they have a model where when they sign an artist, the artist gets an advance, right? And then the advance, you're responsible for so much. You're responsible for advertising. They take into account a bunch of artists they spend money on that doesn't create money. So they have all this Hollywood math that they apply.
Hollywood accounting.
And at the end of it, like, they make more than you and you make almost nothing.
So that's very likely a possibility.
And they throw as much against the wall as possible. It's really not a smart way to do it today, and it's not necessary, because today all you have to do is have a camera and a backdrop and just start recording. And organically, if your content is good, your thing can grow, and then it's yours. It's all yours. And then getting advertising is not hard. If you're successful, you get an agent. You get an advertising agent, and they bring you MeUndies ads and all kinds of shit. Next thing you know, you're making money. You're making money off your channel, and then your channel grows organically. And then you don't have to deal with executives telling you what kind of guests you should have on, or what topics you should avoid, or what things you should accentuate, or we would like you to talk about this today.
And that is essentially what happened with Brett Cooper. She was new to this business and got an offer to come into the Daily Wire and present her idea for a show. And they finessed it with her. It's one of the standard things that recording companies, any media business does, to make sure that they own her creative output. So she comes in and she has a recording of this YouTube show that she would like to do. And they say, no, we can't listen to that because legal reasons. We just want you to present your idea about it to us. And in the contract law, you cannot copyright an idea. So they wanted her to just present the idea, see what this idea is, but they don't want to see any recordings showing the actual product. And once she's presented this idea, they say, we like that idea, but we still don't want to see your recording. And the reason they do that is because if they look at her recording, she can come back later and say that this show is my creative property. And Jeremy Boring does not want to be sitting in court watching a lawyer play clips of Brett Cooper's pitch video against videos of the comment section and trying to demonstrate why they're not the same thing. So what he did was he said, yeah, we like this idea. Remember, it's an idea, not a completed product. We want you to recreate your pitch video in-house with our people. And Brett Cooper, being sort of unsophisticated in this industry, probably didn't really understand what was going on here. So she goes in and recreates her idea with their people. So now they can say it was created in-house, it's our product. And Brett Cooper cannot use her pitch video in court to say this is my idea, because they didn't see it. They just heard her idea. They didn't see her actual pitch of what the show is going to look like. And she had said in interviews months ago that the show as it was created is essentially identical to her pitch video. So legally, Daily Wire, owns the show. It is their intellectual property, but in fact, it is something that was presented to them by Brett Cooper, and that's most likely how that worked out. And she signed, one of these media contracts that Joe Rogan is talking about here, and it's probably got lots and lots of clauses about how the money is going to be spent, and she's responsible for paying for everything that happens before she gets paid. And that's the way the record industry works too. A recording artist will sign a contract and they pay for everything, and then once everything is paid for, the record company gets its cut, and if there's anything left over, the artist gets some money too. No, it's usually a really, really bad deal. Like I said, that's how I got interested in this. And a lot of modern musicians do not want to get record deals. They'd rather just build their business on YouTube the way other YouTube creators do. So this is her situation. And a second person that sort of interested me in the commentary is this channel. And I kind of like her. She's a curmudgeon, contrarian, an old trout sometimes. And she's taken the opinion that Brett Cooper is at fault for this. And she goes on about how it's a man's world, and Brett should have known what she was getting into. And in here,
young and naive. That's happened to me. That's 100.
And she's talking about the sort of things that she had to deal with, which is essentially what happened with Brett Cooper when she came in, young, naive, and you get screwed over.
100% happened to me. I have signed bad contracts. I have been ripped off. I've had people rob me. I have been robbed. But at the end of the day, that was no one's fault but my own. And it's the same thing. If she made a decision, she is responsible for the decision she made.
So her view is, yeah, okay, she got screwed over in this situation. She should just take the L, get over it, get on with her life. And she actually blames Brett for all the drama by removing Reagan from all of her wedding photos online and that sort of thing, which I think is kind of odd. It's why would Brett Cooper, leave these photos of somebody who was a friend and that she does not want to associate with, and she certainly doesn't want to promote her? If she'd left those pictures online and done nothing, she would have been basically endorsing what Reagan and the Daily Wire did. But so by removing them, she's not creating drama. She's just saying, I'm shutting the door on you. I'm not going to support you in any way, and you're just gone from my life, which is absolutely normal, absolutely to be expected. And Pearl goes on in her videos too. These are clips of a much longer video that she did, and she releases short clips of longer videos. But she goes on into, it's a man's world. You just have to man up. You have to take it. I thought this one was pretty funny.
A conservative commentator be worshipped, make millions of dollars. Again, there's a man who dies every week crab fishing.
So yeah, I thought that was pretty funny. It's like, that guy needs to stop crab fishing. That's the answer to that one. But her real point is, this is not hard. You just get on with your life. And there is the aspect that when Brett Cooper walked away, she has over 600,000 followers on her YouTube channel that has no content at all. So her fan base is extremely loyal, and the drama was not created by her. She didn't say anything at all for a couple of weeks, I think, after she left. She did the video with Jeremy Boring where she announced she was laying, and then there was a couple of weeks of silence before she spoke at TPUSA. So she didn't create this drama. It was her followers who were aggravated by what happened, and the Daily Wire has not done themselves in any favors in how they've handled it. And Pearl likes to say that you should just take the loss. That's the way it is with men in their jobs. They just they get fired. Bad things happen to them, and they just take their loss and they walk away. And that's the manly way to do it in a man's world. But there are other opinions about how it should work.
Wrong! Conan, what is best in life? To crush your enemies, see them driven before you, and to hear the lamentation of their women. That is good. That is good.
And that's what's best in life, is when the people who screw you over don't get away with it. And that's kind of what is happening with Brett Cooper, and she didn't really do anything on her own. It was like her fans just rose up on their own and said, what the heck is this? And Pearl also talks about how lots of these media companies have shows with like rotating hosts, and she gives some examples in the long form video that she did on the subject. But that's not what's going on here. This is not a show that's just an idea and you can just put a new host in. It's like the old 60 Minutes show on CBS. It was on for decades. It's not like the Tonight Show where you had a series of different hosts. And you can just transplant somebody else in. And that second one is also a little bit different because the Tonight Show is actually a different show every time you get a different host. They go with like a very different look and feel. The format is basically the same, but they don't try to duplicate what was done before. So back in the day when Johnny Carson left, the next host, I don't remember who it was, Jay Leno maybe, didn't come in and try to imitate Johnny Carson. So that was one of the big mistakes the Daily Wire did with this Reagan person. She's identical to Brett Cooper. So if they'd come in and had her take over the comment section and do it completely differently with a different sort of presentation, maybe that worked. But I don't think Reagan has the star quality that Brett Cooper has. And see, I believe this is one where
say it, do it. But don't do this passive-aggressive bullshit. Don't do this passive-aggressive bullshit and then pretend you don't know what you're doing.
So that's how she is characterizing what Brett Cooper did when she stopped following Reagan, removed her pictures, stopped following the Daily Wire's passive-aggressive BS. Which passive-aggressive can work really well if you do it properly. And I'm sure, Brett Cooper has these, they always like to say NDA. That doesn't really cover it. NDA is something else. She has non-disparagement clauses, confidentiality agreements, and clauses within her contract that would keep her from speaking. But you can still do the passive-aggressive BS if you do it properly. Don't disparage the other person. Praise them in the way that makes the mob want to lynch them. But again, Brett Cooper didn't say anything for a couple of weeks. And the example that I immediately thought of with the passive-aggressive way of praising somebody and then getting the mob wanting to lynch them is this beautiful scene in Julius Caesar by Charlton Heston here. And what has just happened is Brutus has come out and he's given a very logical, very factual, we had to do away with Caesar. He was a danger to the Republic. He was a tyrant. He had to go. It was very logical, very factual, and the crowd starts to walk away. Yeah, that's true, that's true. And then Mark Antony comes out and does the passive-aggressive stuff.
The noble Brutus have told you Caesar was ambitious. If it was so, it was a grievous fault. And grievously hath Caesar answered it. Here, under leave of Brutus and the rest, for Brutus is an honorable man, so are they all honorable men.
And that's how you do it. You praise the person in a way that, and he does this over and over in the speech. Brutus is an honorable man, and in the end, the mob wants to lynch the honorable man. Again, Brett Cooper hasn't really done anything, hasn't spoken out directly about Jeremy Boring or Reagan or anybody in any way. She's at the TP USA event. She did give a very crafty speech where she just describes the trials that she's gone through and how she's faces difficulties in life. Doesn't mention the most recent events in any way, but obviously draws parallels to things that she's gone that have happened to her before in her life. It's happening again, and that's one of the things that you hear Pearl complain about. I've been ripped off. I've been had all this stuff happen to me. But the difference there is that Pearl wasn't in a position to do anything about it. She just had to take the L and move on. I think there's a little bit of bitterness there because there was no way to deal with the malefactors in her case, whereas Brett Cooper didn't really have to do much. Her fans came out and started. They were very angry. She didn't have to do the Mark Antony speech to rile up the mob. They were already ready to go. She just had to continue to say nothing and let events take their course. And things, are kind of looking grim for the Daily Wire. And I'm kind of excited about Brett Cooper's announcement in a couple of days, because I'm sure all of this is going to blow up all over again after she does that event in New York. I'm kind of hoping it'll be something like a poetry slam, something like that, make it fun. But the Daily Wire their response so far has been pretty poor. Brutus actually gave a much better response. He gave a good factual reason for killing Caesar. Jeremy Boring has just kind of done this weird whiny thing where he wants Brett Cooper to endorse what they've done and support Reagan. It's like, she doesn't work for you anymore. It's like, if you want that, then you should pay her for it. Say, we want you to do a promotional announcement, and we'll pay you X million dollars to do it, to try to get things back on track. Otherwise, you should just drop that. That's just odd. So that's my take on it. It's like, this is going to go on a little bit more, and you're going to see more and more people get involved. And I do think we're going to see some more exciting things pop up in a couple of days when Brett Cooper actually does her event. So I'm going to be following to see what happens with that. I have some other things that I've been working on, but this keeps coming back. It's just something that just keeps blowing up on YouTube. And because it's one of those things that you have to strike when the iron's hot, I'm going to comment on it while it's something at the forefront of what everybody's talking about. So I'll probably be doing another of these in a few days after Brett Cooper does her stand-up comedy event, whatever it is, in New York. Can't wait to see what it is. And I will be talking to you again soon.